Hey everybody, it's Felisa, and this is going to be another entry into my Spotlight Sunday that is intended to give a platform, give a platform to cases of the missing and lost, those that are endangered, particularly African American women who have gone missing under unknown or mysterious circumstances. It's my hope to use my platform to be able to give more awareness and more focus on these young women and prayerfully reunite them with their families, or at least to bring their families some semblance of closure. I'm in my jacket, child, because it's cold in this house and I am channeling my grandmother and refusing to turn on the heat. Anyway, so here we go. Today's case is going to be Phoenix Coldon, and I want to say that I became familiar with her case probably back in 2012, 13, something like that. I told you guys that for whatever reason, I have spent a lot of time on a website called the Charley Project. I'll drop that link below. The administrator for that site has done a yeoman's job in standing up that website. I believe that her criteria for featuring people on the Charley Project is that you had to be missing either 6 months or a year. I can't remember. I'll drop that link below. All the information is on her website, and I believe that her rationale for that is that at that point these cases go cold. And this was another resource that she wanted to give to these families and hopefully to bring them some closure, just like, my desire. She is very diligent about updating pages as she comes across information and making sure that everything that's contained in a person's profile is as accurate and as up to date and as concise as she can possibly get it. I do believe that she's still the only person that's working on it. Maybe now she has a team. I hope so, because it's a lot. And I want to say that there are over like 10,000 people that she has featured now on this website. And she has cases that go back to the early 1900s. So I wanted to make sure that I give a shout out to her and give a shout out to the site, because a lot of the information that I'm going to be sharing today is derived from that site. Then I also wanted to say that Phoenix was the subject of I don't know if I want to call it a documentary or a docuseries but a show, a presentation on the Oxygen channel back in November, I want to say. I did not see it. I will say that I did see clips of it, and the clips that I saw, I didn't want to watch it right away. I will go and watch it because I do think that it probably has some good information in it. But I didn't want to immediately watch it because they were batting around a whole lot of theories and some of it was speculation and conjecture, and I didn't want that to influence what my gut was telling me and how I kind of perceive this case. Not that I'm going to be doing any psychic readings or any additional sleuthing. I just want to be able to present the facts. I will go ahead and present some of the theories that have been floating around out there, and I think that they were presented in the Oxygen special. And I try and stay away from that because I don't want to get into supposing and all that kind of stuff. But her disappearance is very bizarre, and there hasn't been a whole lot to go off of. So after saying all of that and preferencing, let me go ahead and read to you the information that is contained on her profile on the Charley Project. And that is, she has been missing since December the 18th, 2011, from Spanish Lake, Missouri. She's classified as endangered missing. Her date of birth is May 23rd, 1988. So she's currently 30, and she'll be 31 in a matter of weeks. The age of her disappearance was 23. Her height, it seems to kind of have a range between 5'3" and 5'6", which to me is kind of a spread, but okay. 125 pounds. Her last described clothing was a black or dark blue hooded sweatshirt, gray sweatpants with the word Lindenwood or the letters USML on one leg, and black sneakers. Her distinguishing characteristics is that she's an African American female. She has black hair, brown eyes, and she may wear eyeglasses. Her ears are pierced. And the details surrounding her disappearance are as follows. She was last seen sitting in her car in the driveway of her home at 12600 block of Country Brook Drive in Spanish Lake, Missouri on December 18, 2011. Her father saw her drive away at 2:20 p.m. At 5:30 p.m., her car, a black four-door 1998 Chevy Blazer with tinted windows and Missouri license plate number KE2S6V, was found abandoned at an intersection in the 900 block of St. Clair Avenue in East St. Louis, Missouri. It was still running, and the driver's side door was open. There was no sign of Coldon at the scene. She has never been heard from again. The police had her car towed. They didn't realize it belonged to a missing person. Her loved ones described her as responsible, intelligent, and deeply religious. She had been homeschooled up until she graduated from high school. She could play multiple musical instruments, and she also was a regional fencing champion. When she moved out of the house after turning 18, she told her parents that she was moving in with a female friend. They later found out that she was in fact living with a boyfriend. She moved back in with her parents in 2011. She was a junior at the University of Missouri at St. Louis, but she didn't take any fall semester classes the year she disappeared. Little information is available on her disappearance. She is missing under unknown circumstances. She may have traveled to Illinois or to San Francisco, California after her disappearance. Now that is from the Charley Project. Now I'll go ahead and kind of give my impression, or just some thoughts as I've read this and kind of thought about it. Now, she was sitting in the driveway in her car. Her dad reports that he saw her drive away at about 2:20 p.m. We don't know how long she was sitting in that driveway. I've never seen it. I looked for how long exactly was she sitting there. Was she on her phone? Did she make a phone call? Did she place a text? Was she looking up directions to something? I'm pretty sure that her family has tried to search her phone records and maybe it didn't yield anything. But, I would just wonder exactly what she was doing when she was sitting in her driveway. If maybe she's, of course, and there's always a chance that she's just adjusting the seat, adjusting the radio, but it depends on how long she was sitting there and what she did in those crucial moments. And then also her behavior up to her leaving was reported to be normal. I think that I read some reports that they went to church earlier that day. The family was very devout, very religious, and so this wouldn't have been unusual for them. And Phoenix didn't have any outward signs of distress or things that are going on. Okay, so having said that, all apparently was well as she drove away. So she left at 2:20. The car was found at 5:30-ish, still running at an intersection with her nowhere to be found. This is approximately 3 hours later. So where was she in those 3 hours? Was she the one that actually drove to the intersection? Because nobody reported seeing her get out the car, and that's a little suspicious. You just stop at a red light or stop at a stop sign and you get out the car. Not only do you get out the car, but you leave the driver's side door open and just walk away on foot. Unless that intersection was completely devoid of traffic, no pedestrians, no drivers, I don't know how anybody couldn't have witnessed this. Somebody behind her, someone around her, just watching a young lady walk off. And then somebody would have had to call that in. There's a car that's running at an intersection, there's nobody in it, and the driver's side door is open, because the police came, checked out the vehicle, and towed it away. Or I guess they towed it away. I don't recall what the report said. Then another issue is you find a car in this condition, no driver, just abandoned, but not abandoned in a way that will be easier to digest, meaning not abandoned in a parking lot, not abandoned, on a side street or a residential street, which would have taken time. People would walk past it all the time before they decided that the car was actually abandoned. They just would see that it never moved. And honestly, is in some neighborhoods, it wouldn't even occur to people that it's abandoned. They would probably just think that it's not running or that there's something wrong with it. So the police actually come across a vehicle that is still running, which means the keys are in ignition or nearby. The driver's side door is open. Nobody is to be found. They didn't run a place. They didn't check. That didn't arouse suspicion. That's just weird to me. Okay, so they took possession of the car, not knowing that it belonged to a missing person. And to be fair, it could be a timing issue. Perhaps at the time that they discovered the vehicle, she hadn't been reported missing because she'd only been missing, or it only been about 3 hours before the car was discovered. So her parents wouldn't have been thinking, oh, let me go and file a report for Phoenix, because it only literally been 3 hours. But once the report was filed and the family figured out that this car was in police possession, I think that that's when it really got to be real, that there was something wrong. There was something amiss. Finally, I don't know if anybody interviewed this boyfriend, if anybody interviewed, the person that she was living with. Again, who was she talking to while she was sitting in the car? If anybody. I think, all those relationships and all of those attachments definitely need to be investigated if they haven't already. And I'm sure I'm probably speaking out of all sides of my face, because I'm almost sure that they would have exhausted all those resources, at least hopefully, in the last 8 years that she has been missing. So there's on the Oxygen website, they are talking about the documentary that they put together about her, and saying how they felt like they were very thorough in their investigation and their sleuthing and interviews and things like this. And so they came up with 3 theories that I'm assuming seemed the most plausible. Number 1, that she was abducted by sex traffickers. Coldon seemingly vanished in a depressed and crime-ridden part of East St. Louis, a nearly 30-minute drive from her home. Reportedly, her SUV was left in the middle of a traffic lane, still running, almost as if she had been suddenly interrupted during her drive. The area is known for being a hotspot for human trafficking. The St. Louis metro region is one of the top 20 areas in the country for human trafficking, State Representative Nathan Tate said in a statement posted by the Missouri Sheriff's Association. Interstate 70, which Thomas referred to as the sex trafficking highway of America, runs straight through the city and provides easy access to anyone looking to move goods or human or for nefarious purposes. While there is no official estimate of human trafficking victims in the United States, Polaris, an organization aimed at preventing human trafficking, estimates that the number reached into the hundreds of thousands. It happens here in suburban America, Thomas said. Coldon has been missing for nearly 8 years, and though Thomas questioned whether or not someone who had been trafficked would be able to stay off the radar for so long, one of the experts she spoke to says it's possible. Now, this is something that I didn't pick up on when I read it before. So between her house and where her car was found, it's a nearly 30-minute drive. Why would she have been in that area? Is there anything that would have called her to that area? And again, that's why I'm wondering, did she make a phone call before she left? Was she supposed to go meet a friend? Was she going to meet, a new guy? What is in this area? Because if she left at 2:20, it would have taken her until a little after 3 to get to where she was going. The car, if she went straight there, the car was found at 5:30. So what was going on in those 2.5 hours? And how did they get her out the car? In a traffic lane, no less. And again, I keep going back to the idea that nobody saw that this happened in broad daylight and nobody saw anything. That's just the most bizarre thing ever. The second thought is that she met with some other form of foul play. After Coldon disappeared, all activity on her bank account, cell phone, and social media accounts seemed to abruptly halt, suggesting that she had met with some form of foul play that ended in her death that December afternoon. However, Coldon's body has never been found, and police have told Thomas there was no other DNA found in the SUV other than Coldon's and her parents'. It's still suspicious, however, that Coldon vanished seemingly without any trace. Thomas said that police have remained tight-lipped about many of the details of the case, making it difficult to know exactly what transpired the day she disappeared. Coldon's parents, Lawrence and Golda Coldon, have suggested that during the months before she disappeared, she may have gotten involved with the wrong people. And this was according to a 2012 article in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. In the same article, former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Finch told the paper that he was absolutely concerned about her safety and said that a few leads have come in about her current whereabouts. Bottom line is that she hasn't been found, and we're not going to stop looking for her. So, again, that goes back to what I've been saying. Who did she talk to before she left the house? If she was going to meet someone, it stands to reason that she would have texted or she would have called that person and said, hey, I'm on my way, or something along those lines to kind of give a clue as to where exactly she was going. Another thing that I didn't mention that was mentioned in another article was that in addition to not having any activity on her social media and her bank account, all of her belongings, her personal effects, were left in the car. So imagine you stumble upon a car with the car door open, the driver's side open, car still running, purse, cell phone, keys still in the car, and her eyeglasses. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm blind as bad. I'm not going anywhere without my eyeglasses. Now, maybe she just needed them for reading or, something like that. But those are things that you would think if she were going to establish another life, or she was going to run away, which is the next theory, that she would at least want to be able to see. That's just my thought. I know I would. And then the third theory is that she ran away. And this was that, the thought was that she did this willingly, and during the investigation, these PIs did find evidence to suggest that she may have left on her own, although it's unclear what she may have been running from or running to that afternoon. Maybe some of the friends who wouldn't talk to us would know that, she said. There have been multiple reported sightings of Coldon since she disappeared. There were alleged sightings of her, so she might be living somewhere as a soccer mom in Iowa, somewhere with 3 kids, who knows, with a whole new name and identity. Those sightings, however, have not been confirmed, and her parents have also repeatedly refuted that theory. Phoenix had everything she needed and most of the things that she wanted, so I couldn't see any reason why she would want to run away from that, Lawrence Coldon said on an episode of Real Talk with Tamara, a show that investigated the case. With few leads to go on, there remain many unanswered questions about what really did happen to Coldon that December afternoon, and police haven't drawn any conclusions. Everything is still on the table. They haven't ruled anything out. So there you have it. I do encourage you that, if you know something, if you were in the area, if you've heard something, if, perhaps something that didn't strike you as odd then is striking you as odd now, please get in contact with the police department that is investigating this case, and I will leave that information for you below. As always, I pray for the families of the missing and the lost and the endangered, and I pray that they find closure and peace in understanding and knowing what exactly happened to their loved ones. Again, if you have corrections to this story, please leave those below, because it is never my intention to disparage or report inaccurate information. May the family of Phoenix Coldon find peace and resolve in this case. Y'all be blessed.